Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another video where I just kind of talk about some crazy ideas that's been on my mind lately. Let's see, right now I'm driving from work to a youth leadership meeting, and just want to make another video so I could just kind of digest on, I guess, what I've been passively or actively meditating on. And it's the idea called, I guess I'll call it pathways, which is probably a term in brain neurology studies in there, where I guess to explain it, I can only explain it in examples. It's kind of hard to come up with a working definition as I'm multitasking right now. So before I get into that, I guess another reason why I'm making this video, because I just want to create. Sometimes I get kind of bored of just consuming, whether it be entertainment or information. I just want to create and share information, kind of have an outpouring rather than just, getting, I guess, indigestion or constipation with all this knowledge you just kind of intake and eat. So here's just me just exhaling it out. So pathways, you've probably heard somewhere where there's this advice to sit up straight, or to lean have your shoulders back a little bit, and just kind of like have a really good posture, right? And doing this actually has a psychological effect, because there's this thing where, but kind of like some kind of law of nature or law of the mind maybe, where the internal influences the external and the external influences the internal, meaning your inner thoughts are going to kind of dictate what your behavior and habits are going to be, and vice versa, your habits and your behaviors or actions will influence your inner behavior. So they're both connected and they both influence each other, and they both have an influence on each other. So that's why when you sit up straight, you're gonna suddenly you're tricking your brain to be more confident, and you're gonna be more confident in the long run when you sit up straight, because there's actually a mechanism built inside our brain chemistry, and it's called serotonin, this substance, this brain chemical. And there's I guess some receptors of serotonin, and even the food you eat can increase that production or reception. I'm not the expert on that, but I kind of know of its existence. So okay, let's go back to the sitting up straight example, and this crosses over into other categories as well, but we can talk about that later. So you're tricking your brain that you're confident. Okay, I remember what I was talking about. So lobsters, for example, they sit up straight when they're confident and when they're the alpha lobster, and they do this puff up of the chest and sit up straight because they're exposing their vital organs to, I guess, other lobsters and the elements, and I guess they're not worried about that exposure because they're just so confident, and they've given their brain enough evidence that they're kind of on the top of the pyramid of the lobster world. And then you'll see the beta lobsters are kind of hunched over, and they're kind of like protecting their vital organs. So in the same way, our brains have that same kind of wiring where if you let's go back to the lobsters. So if you got a lobster that keeps winning battles, he's going to be confident, and you got the lobster who kind of loses all of these lobster fights, and he gets all unconfident, and he just kind of hunches over to protect his vitals. And I guess that could kind of be paralleled to our human experience, where if you kind of get a lot of rejections in the vocational or dating world or in the academic world, you're gonna kind of you're not gonna have a lot of confidence. So you're gonna be so your external behavior is gonna kind of reinforce and exhibit that and show that at the same time. So you're going to be kind of hunched over and hiding your vital organs from the world. And so yeah, you guys kind of get it. So let's translate this category into well, I came from work, so I can talk about work. So I guess there are some areas where I'm very confident in, so I'll speak confidently on it. And at the same time, and if there's areas that I'm not familiar with, I'm not going to speak that confidently. My voice is going to kind of change. It's going to get more higher pitched, like a couple octaves, like yeah, that and this and that, and maybe. So maybe I'll sound like that more. Right now I'm kind of in a neutral, I don't know, maybe I'm confident in what I'm talking about. I'm just kind of talking out loud without any pressure, I guess. So pathways. So you could even trick your brain in other ways besides sitting up straight. Let's say something really tragic happened to you, and maybe a death of someone in the family, and then you go eat some great food, or you pet a cat or smell a flower. That's gonna snap you into I guess a different perspective or lens of the world, where you're in the now and in the present, and maybe you're reminded of the good and it could be blessings you have in your life, so doing that behavior of just I don't know, maybe getting back into your normal life routine, or again, petting a cat, smelling a rose, in the midst of sadness, that'll trick your brain. But not only does it trick your brain, it kind of just reinforces another reality that you're probably not paying attention to at the time, where it's like, oh yeah, things are gonna be all right. So let's move on to another category. Let's see. Another thing that I find pretty interesting. So I'm going to talk louder right now because I'm driving a little faster. Traffic's clearing up. So what about working out and that effect on the brain? I haven't read the book called The Spark yet, but I kind of know the premise, where how working out and exercising regularly has this very dynamic shift on your brain chemistry, and your capacity to experience joy increases, and you're less nihilistic, and you find meaning and purpose in life when you're exercising and jogging and just pushing your body to its limits. And I'm just going to take some wild guesses as to why this unlocks a pathway in your brain. So I think you have these areas in your brain that are just kind of like, they're not lit up, they're not turned on right now, and they're not activated. For example, there was this game that I haven't played in 15 years, or more than that, maybe 20 years, since my childhood, and it just came out on Steam, and it's called Zork Grand Inquisitor. And so, of course, I remember maybe half the game, but on the other half, I had no idea. Like, I kind of like knew of, it's like I knew, okay, well, there's like some parts of the game where like, you can't recall off the bat. Like, you have no idea. You have no picture of what it is, what situation you're going to get into. But then once you're there in the game, the pathway just kind of like electrifies and activates in your brain, where you completely remember everything. Oh yeah, now I completely remember every single detail. But it was completely dark and pitch black to me, like maybe like 10 minutes ago before I got there. So that's another explanation of a pathway in your brain that can activate. So maybe when you're working out, when you're doing all this hard work and pushing those barbells and squatting that rack, and all of a sudden maybe this thing clicks in your brain to where you're more motivated to do things. And my guess is because that's kind of what the human body was meant to do. That's kind of like to work hard and to have all of these challenges that bring meaning to life. And maybe that's kind of where the whole you have more meaning and purpose when you work out. Maybe that's why it lights up, because your body is giving that that vibe. I kind of dislike that word, but it gives off that vibe to your brain, and your brain just kind of like gets into that frequency, or if it was a radio station, right? Your brain would tune in to that level of thinking, I guess, that layer of thinking. I work with layers at work. A layer is like, you got like a building. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this. I'm not sure if it can connect to what we're talking about with pathways. Yeah, I think it does actually, because there's a lot of different layers of reality, just like how there's a lot of different layers, in a drawing of a building. You got your plumbing. You could turn off like all the other parts of the drawing. It's a computer drawing, so you can turn off the walls and turn off the floors and turn off the furniture and turn off the electrical, and you can just have the plumbing just by itself there, and you can see the plumbing in the street. So this translates into how maybe the different layers around life could be like, okay, there's a social layer going on, there's a physical layer going on, there's an emotional layer going on, and so I don't know, like I guess it kind of made my point. I'll probably think of more ideas like probably 5 minutes after I turn off this video. Yeah, I hope you guys got some value out of my yammering. So maybe if I eliminate all these ums and neck scratching, it's like maybe I'll just have more confidence in talking. But anyways, I actually thought of another cool idea that kind of relates to this. So I was working on some songs with my friend Chris, and we only had half the song done. We knew what the verses were, but we couldn't figure out what the chorus was going to be. So what helped me was to basically pretend I was like in front of a big crowd, like, okay, the verse is playing, the bridge is playing, and we have this empty silence at the chorus, the big climax of the whole song. So I was just visualizing, I had this live audience of like, I don't know, 5,000 people, and it's like, okay, hands are up in the air, the build up and the bridge is leading up to something very big. So I'm like, okay, I can't disappoint this audience. I'm on the piano right now, I'm making this song. So then I started filling in that silence with just some crazy musical creation that I guess it was kind of coming out of my subconscious. So and then yeah, this really cool song actually came out of it, and I'll probably show you guys later. I'll link it in this video. And so you have, so I believe that you have, like, you know, these, let's call it pitch black areas of your brain that you're just kind of yet to shoot a pathway to, and to light that up. It's there. You just have to I guess do the behaviors that will properly align you towards the lighting up of that pitch black area, which is just basically, we'll call it the unknown or chaos or whatever. So yeah, it's a cool example. And actually, let's talk more about the subconscious. So I'm trying to think if this even relates to what we're talking about with pathways. Yeah, well, I guess this will kind of reinforce the I don't know, what is it? Not really evidence, but that pitch black area that's yet to be light up is kind of there, whether it be an area in your brain or just some layer of reality that you never tapped into, that's actually kind of, you know, maybe other people are kind of connected to maybe the social realm more, and it's like you too could be a very, you know, socially aware person. You just have to have the behaviors that will kind of give you the express lane and the carpool lane straight over there. It's kind of a quick way to do it when you have that shortcut, and when you have the behaviors and actions that kind of quickly take you there, which are what mentors are for. So yeah, dreams are pretty cool. So you're basically experiencing it's kind of weird. Your brain is thinking up of all these things subconsciously. You're not actually actively making all the stuff in your dream, but your brain is so creative. It's making up all these things, and you're just being the person who's experiencing all these things happening to you. So it's kind of cool. So you're actually a very creative person, but you just have to just, I guess, what do you call it? Kind of do that dive off the cliff into the water, just like kind of what I did when I forced myself to make a chorus to that song, because it was going to come logically, because it's not going to sound that good if I come up with it logically, in a sense. I guess it's like a different level of logic. It's kind of like a deeply set in AI that was kind of, I don't know, pre-programmed in your just experience of life. So I don't know how long this video is right now, but it doesn't matter. Well, thanks for listening, and again, hope you got some value out of that and some ideas, and maybe you have some counter ideas or some maybe things that go along with that. Be cool to hear. And yeah, I guess I'll continue driving to my meeting. Have a great Friday night.